Welcome to this much awaited session now. In today's digital world, AI is not just a buzzword, it's a game changer. When integrated into online communities, AI opens new avenues for engagement, personalization, and growth. How, you may ask? We have an exclusive panel of community leaders to help us dive deep into how AI is transforming community management. We'll explore real world applications, predictive insights, and ethical considerations of AI, showing how it's revolutionizing the future of online communities. So, allow me to call on the stage the moderator for this panel discussion, Shweta Sharma, Technical Delivery Manager, Rosity Interactive. Shweta is a professional community manager with 10 plus years of experience in the community space. She has developed over 100 plus branded communities, aiming to expand the sphere of the client influence, all while growing their network and audience. So here's Shweta with our next panel discussion, AI meets community, fueling growth through smart solutions. Hi Shweta, the stage is
Hi,
all yours.
Devanshu. Thank you, Devanshu. Hi, everyone. So as we explore how AI is revolutionizing online communities, it's essential to recognize the pivotal role AI is playing to scale and enhance the community experience. AI-powered tool offers incredible potential to personalize engagement, automated processes, and actionable insight. Today, in this session, we're going to deep dive into how AI is transforming the online community experience. I'm excited to introduce to you to our panelists who are the forefront transformation experts and who has seen the changes happening in the community. So I'll introduce first Christopher, who is the Senior Community Manager at ZoomInfo. Christopher has 15 years of experience. Chris has extensive experience in community strategies and has advised the top executives on utilizing the user engagement for business growth. He is a podcast host, a thought leader who offers data backend advice on building effective communities. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Okay, and next we have Ed, who is Head of Community at Persona. He has an eminent background as the former Global Head of Community at prominent organizations like Dropbox, Wix, VMware, and many more. He is also founded Edublin, a renowned for his expertise in video storytelling, and has amassed over 400K YouTube subscribers and 50 million views. Wow. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Same here. Okay, without much ado, let's get started. And Chris, my first questions to you, as I have already explained that you have 15 plus, almost more than a decade of experience building the optimizing strategies for online communities. I want to know from you, can you throw some light on how this AI is used to personalize the experience for individual community members, and what are the key benefits of this approach?
That's such a question. That's a big question, and I appreciate you asking. So let's back up. AI has been around for a really long time, but as we kind of think about AI into our online communities, embedding, AI things to make it easier for us to either moderate or to personalize or to get data that we might not be able to get that quickly. AI solves a lot of problems, or could solve a lot of problems like that. I think that when you look at what's happening today, and let's talk about that, because I have a lot of thoughts of what could happen, and and we should probably discuss some of those things. One is, we're all using AI tools anyways, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude 3 or like podcasting and things like that, really, or video editing and things like that, to where it can give us quick hit type videos, quick hit audio, transcripts that can turn into blogs within 5 minutes or 2 minutes, rather than it taking you 2 weeks to write a blog, right? Using the content that you're doing. I think those are the things that I think community managers are probably doing today, and probably just people in general. When I think about online communities, and we've talked a lot about this from a support standpoint, and Rich mentioned it before. I think chatbots are probably going to be the first, because you can feed those chatbots, right? To whether it's documentation, community posts, and discussions, interactions. More specifically, it's going to, I think, help with support deflection and quick hit, answers to questions that customers are needing about a product or something like that. We do have to worry about hallucinations, so you got to think about that. At my last company, we did start using a chatbot to embed into communities and documentation and things. And then as we played with it, it did hallucinate and it said some crazy things. The last thing I would say is, look, I think there's sentiment type analysis. I know that Grazidi is doing some things around that from an AI standpoint. So I think that we have to be thought leaders in the space. And Ed kind of corrected me last time we had this conversation. I said, let's think AI first. Because, well, what problems are we trying to solve, right? So maybe we don't think of AI first, but we do have to think about, AI and problems that it can solve quickly, like getting answers to questions, especially support, or getting data quickly. Like, for example, I threw a bunch of data around around like this 200 or 300 questionnaire like people took. I put it into Claude 3, and it gave me just this tons of information within 20 seconds about what our customers would like on a community, what they won't like, and all the programs that we can actually build to do some of those things. So we can get great insights already, but how do we start embedding that into community and thinking that way? So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Christopher. And you picked up one of the very close to my heart topic, the sentimental analysis that you were talking about. Definitely, Grazity is working on, and we guys are working on this new product, which is known as Attic, which is, you may say, a tool that will have these embedded AI features and which can use for moderation, which can help save a lot of moderators' times. And just from the post, they can visualize or make out the sentiments of the post. So it can help the users to see what actually the sentiment of that particular post is. So that's the AI, that's the power of the AI that we all are exploring in our own domains. Okay, without further ado, Ed, as we are talking that AI is there to solve a lot of our problems, AI embedded tools are there in the community. I want to understand from you, what are the AI applications which could be used to solve or automate our online community daily tasks, which maybe earlier community managers take hours to complete. Now, if you could put more light on that, how these things could be taken care of.
Yeah. So first of all, I have a challenge for everyone. By the end of this session, I want to tell if you know if I am an AI or if this is real Ed that's talking. So you never know. There may be a hint that this is AI. So that's such a good point. Maybe going back to what Chris said, we need to find out what problems we're trying to solve. And I'll bring the experience of working in a very lean team and in a startup where you don't have a lot of resources, yet you have to do a lot of experiments because the communities we deal with, especially here at Persona, they're not as easy or let's say as straightforward to understand as when I was working, for example, for Dropbox. When we work at a big company, I think we have an unfair advantage that everyone knows your product and then you just move from there. My first challenge is even like having people figure out what we do. From there, I have to then understand, okay, is there like an opportunity to build a community, to do something around people? And then AI comes into play. That becomes my challenge. And then how do I then use AI to help me test multiple things at the same time with just one ad in, as a single team, solo team person. So give you very practical things. Here at Persona, we have to first, as I mentioned, educate people. So how do I build education fast? So we use AI for that. So what I did, and that's why I mentioned like if I am AI or not, we have a full library of what we call a Persona Academy, which is educational content with, I'd say, now we have 5 courses and they are 8 or 9 lessons each. So it's like you can get certified and everything on Persona, and everything there is built on AI. So from the script that I use, tools like GPT with Perplexity, I actually use GPT with GPT Assistant. If people don't know what you do there is you feed the system, like the assistant, with a lot of information in advance. You can upload PDFs, you can send links, you can feed them like with, okay, this is the scope in which we're going to be using. From there, help me create scripts based on these questions. And the questions are essentially, what are the most viewed Help Center articles? What are the most questions asked in the support tickets? What are the questions that people usually ask when they onboard with us? And that becomes our course material. So from there, you have the scripts. Second, HeyGen. So with HeyGen, you can record a 2-minute video and that generates like your avatar, they call. With avatars, you can do that in multiple languages. You can do that with multiple backgrounds. And then essentially they will place whatever like you recorded initially into whatever the new scripts are. So that's when the scripts come to play. And then you essentially upload all of those. They'll generate like these videos. And to make it, and maybe this is something that we can discuss later, but to make that like feel a little bit more natural and not like super perfect with like no cuts and everything, I actually make edits to make it imperfect. And that's so funny because, we aim for perfection, but then once we get to perfection, it doesn't look natural. So we aim for like imperfection now, where we're like, let me make some edits so it feels like a bit off, in some points, so it's more natural. And we do that, and then that's like part one, that's Academy. Part two, when we're engaging with customers, we use a lot of tools, like we use Common Room, we use Slack, and we use Zapier a lot. Zapier is my best friend. So a lot of the data that comes in will feed into our data points. So they'll feed into Common Room, they'll feed into the points that I mentioned with the assistant. And then we look at, okay, what are the things I can do to maybe engage them? That's not just educational, but maybe just to get more out of them. Perhaps understand their use case, understand where they're struggling, or just, share best practices that we've captured from other customers. And using AI for that as well. So I can then DM them messages on Slack. I can create content that they'll engage with, that will resonate because I know exactly what their signals are. Because I have product signals and I have their social signals, that's called. So these are like just two examples that are very practical. But by doing that, I can essentially reply one-to-one messages to 1,000+ people and make it feel very, very natural to them. And even if I'm just getting like 80% of the of satisfaction with that, I'm reaching out to 1,000+ people, which I wouldn't be able to do so by myself if I had to handcraft every single thing by myself.
Great. It's really very insightful. We are talking about AI. We are talking about what AI can do, but as we know, there is this two sides of the coins. So we are just talking about the pros. AI can make the changes, AI can change the world. But even when we are talking about this, we need to understand what are the ethics or what are the challenges that are coming along. And this is an open question, and more of a question, I'll say. It is more for the discussion because this is the topic which is very less touched about the challenge or the etiquettes that needs to be kept in mind when we are talking about AI. Chris, please feel free to put your inputs on this because I think so. This is one of the topics which is not discussed much in any of the sessions.
Yeah, it's a tough one because, I think we have to think of our, protecting users' privacy and data security. So I think you have to educate yourself on, what that means and internally start building relationships with your security and data privacy folks, right? Because there are laws that Europe is really kind of leading the way in these AI kind of initiatives. They want to be seen as kind of the leaders in that. And when you think of things that they've done in the past, they're doing the same thing with AI. And so understanding, not necessarily the laws, but things that you have to do to make sure they're protected. The users are protected. I mean, and I think that's key. I think, maybe like maybe you can look at bias and fairness and those AI algorithms. I don't know how you do that easily, but is there a specific technology that could be biased, against a certain type of person or things like that, and just gotta kind of be aware, read about the technologies that you're buying and implementing into your community space and other things like that. Probably the last thing I'll say about it is just be transparent to your community and in your organization. Don't be sneaking things around, because your organization has to know, and then get that feedback from, again, those folks within your organization, and then be transparent to your users as well on how you're using AI if they ask, and things like that. I think just awareness is the key.
Yeah, I want to add to Chris' points. I think we remember that maybe 10 years ago when we had forums and they were usually in English. English is my second language, so it's assumed that for a lot of people, English being a second language, it was challenging when you're learning and you want to get answers. But usually the English forums were the busiest ones, and you went to like different languages, you wouldn't get enough answers. So what we implemented at the time, I think it was like at Zynga, and then a lot of companies did similar things, was having Google Translate. Like there's a button that says translate this, and you click and it's auto translated. It looked terrible in a lot of ways because people, they don't know how to write on forums. There's a lot of typos, and then translations just look odd. There's sarcasm. There's a lot of things that like translations wouldn't capture properly. So the answers were never good. But you knew, I think, to the point of transparency, you knew it was being translated by a machine. And then second, you always had to take with like, a pinch of salt, because you knew also that machine translations were not the best. It didn't feel as human. They like got it messed up, especially 10 years ago. I don't think it's different now. Like with AI, it's just like better, maybe a little bit more seamless. You don't have to put like there's so much effort into it. But it should be, back to the point of transparency, it should be known to people that, hey, you're consuming something here that's localized, that's not the original, or you're consuming like a generated content here. So LinkedIn has a lot of that, right? You go to their articles where a lot of people contribute. It's purely, they say this is AI driven, but we want the human touch. So we're actually giving you badges if you contribute to the content that we created by AI, so that it makes it feel a little bit more like UGC. So there's that. And I think there's a second thing that's a bit unrelated, but on the kind of cons on the AI, there's a lot of research done on perceived value and perceived effort when something is created by AI. And this is very interesting because I think we passed that stage, maybe like by a few decades now, when we look at the physical goods, but not so much digital goods. An example is like if you want to buy a cashmere that's handmade, is way more expensive than buying like the industrialized, like the AI generated, like the version that's just generated by scale, right? You go like to these shops that are like the fast fashion. You have like a lot of the same. They may be like okay-ish, but they're way cheaper. But you still sometimes prefer the handmade. You may want to buy like this, I don't know, handmade food because you don't want to buy the frozen food. You want the industrialized. You want to buy the handmade by someone who cooked like on spot for you. Just feels more premium, and it's not different for us in AI. So the research essentially shows is people value more what's being created by humans than by AI. So there's again back to perceived value and perceived effort, because they're like, I don't think you put the same effort. I don't think there's the same value because this is being just created by a tool, not by a human. So I think that's something that we need to be aware of, especially with communities.
Totally agree. Humans are not replaceable by AI because we are the one who has created the AI. So if you don't feed anything into the AI, you won't get any answers. So that's the way we think as a community people, because we love to connect it with people. But definitely, as we want to go along with the journey of the new technology, we need to understand what AI could help us with and what we can do to make sure that we follow these etiquettes when we are using the AI, the challenges we should be aware of. And much said by Christoph and Ed, that we need to educate, and this education needs to be for every level. So I think so we have time, and I can pick up one of the questions, one or two, let's see. So the question is, what are the routine tasks such as moderation or the content curation can AI automate in communities, and how does it affect the role of community managers?
I can start because I think Richard gave us a very good segue into that discussion we are having today. He mentioned that there were answers given by the chatbots that were not as good as human answers. They didn't generate as much engagement, or like didn't generate as much as like best answer selections. And I mean, my point that I raised with him was like, is this transactional community even a community in the first place? If people are just going to seek answer and then they get an answer and leave and never come back, is this even a community, or this is just a forum that you claim to be a community? So having said that, I think when we think about tasks that are very transactional, that are not about the humans, it's just about getting to the point. I feel that this is going to be 100%, 110% AI automated, because there's no point in having a human for something that's such transactional. So analyzing data, moderating content, moderating images, giving just straight answers to something that's not about a discussion or a sentiment or anything. It's purely what's point A to B. Here's the direction. That's it. That's Waze, that's Google Maps. You don't want to engage with the community of people who are just looking for the direction about A to B. So I feel that this is all to be automated. There's even I think another article I was reading about an entire call center in the Philippines that was 100% automated with voice AI, because there's no point, because they're tier 1 support, which means they're the most basic, most shallow level support. And then if that becomes a challenge and they cannot get you an answer, that gets escalated. So AI can purely be that replacement, right? Where, if you're not doing something that's meaningful or human-based, it's very likely that it's going to be AI-driven.
And I think that, when you look at some of these tasks that are simple, there's community platforms out there that, you can create these rules that allow you to, for example, email users just on a rules basis. If customer has been doing this or hasn't done this for 15 days, send an email, a personalized email and things like that. But you have to set all that up, and that takes time and effort and things like that. What I would say is there's probably opportunity with that. There's probably opportunity to personalize content and all of those things that, now we don't have to say, well, if customers looking at this, bring up this, maybe there's some automated ways to do that through AI. What I would say though is, technology's got to be there to be able to help you do that. I think that community platforms need to innovate. Community platforms haven't innovated in years. They do the same things over and over, right? Let's be real. I love some of these platforms. They do what they're supposed to do, but how are they going to help us as community leaders do some of these things a little bit easier? And for me, it's why do I have to come up with all these AI ideas when they should be coming up with some of these ideas? Because right now I'm saying, well, I need to go to Grazidi to help with personalization. I need to go with this company to help with the chatbot. I need to go with this company to help me with the email. I need to go with this company. How about, we start thinking of how to help our community leaders and managers with some of the, thinking about AI and building these things. The last thing I'll say is, and I think this is important, we got to think about business outcomes, when, like I said before, what problems do AI solve? So for example, community is a big opportunity to help solve problems. But when you connect community to support systems, to the LMS, to knowledge bases, and all that information is coming out through, enterprise search, through SSO and things like that, how do we start embedding technology to help? Hey, we're deflecting X number of cases and saving this company this much. We're helping with cross-sell, upsell, things like that. So think of that unified way of solving problems from not just community, but the business problems. And AI needs to help support some of that to make that easier, because you know what? A lot of us still haven't got to that piece, and so we've got to solve those business problems and not just, these simple tasks, which we need to use and help us do those things. But that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, I totally agree, Chris. And it's rightly said, we guys are thinking about how we need to get AI into the community. And these days, we are reading a lot of articles coming from the community platforms also, that they are using AI into their system. But still, the story is a long way to go and finding out what exactly they are doing. But what I can sum up about, because we are talking about AI, and I just want to add it, the tool that Grazidi is building, because a lot of people know about it, there is a tool. I just want to sum up that this tool may not be 100% efficient to everyone, but I can make sure that this gonna be efficient to the moderators, the Attic tool, because I see, because we guys do work as a moderator for some of the customers, and we see that pain of reading these articles and finding out whether this article is as per the language it's correct, whether it's contained the spam, whether the sentiment of the article is correct. so the moderator is spending a lot of time doing it. So the tool is helping to deliver the same functionality in within seconds. Like, okay, this is the post, this is the sentiment, this is
Beautiful.
the language, and this is the uh, language, whether it's a spam. So it can bifurcate into 3 sections, which can help the moderators just to filter out whether they want to send it as a spam, they want to post it or not. So I think so. So as the use case come up, the tools build, and obviously the platform gonna build them also to make sure that the user experience is very seamless. They are happy with what the community platform is delivering. They are happy with how AI is getting embedded. And I think so it can help a lot of community managers and the moderators to get to the next level of thinking about the community. Yeah. Okay, so I think so we are almost up with the time. So if I can take one last question. The question is, how can an AI effectively personalize the community experience by analyzing the individual behaviors and preferences? And what is the approach? So I think so we are discussing about it, and I think so if you can just add a liners to it, and then we can wrap up.
I can start with something that's maybe not something that people think so much about, but we used to do this a lot at Dropbox, and that's me talking about 10 years ago. We used to invite people from completely different industries to help with insights that we were not thinking about. And I remember we invited this guy who was a manager at, I think it was Hyatt or Marriott, one of the biggest hotel chains, and he was going to teach us about hospitality and how to personalize the experiences when people come in for the check-in. And essentially what he was saying is like, every morning I meet with my team and we look at, okay, who's coming today? Okay, there's this person here, she's like a premium member. There's this other person here, it seems to be like their, wedding anniversary. There's this other person here who seems to have like this disability. We need to cater for that. And we look at that and be like, okay, how do we customize all of that? So like, hey, this wedding anniversary, write something down here, let's welcome them, and then put a champagne in the room. And then for this other person, let's make sure that we have an accessible room for that person. Very, very manual, right? And very personal. I love that. And I love that has been like stuck into my mind since, to make sure we deliver great experiences. I think sometimes it may sound easier when we're like, oh, we have all this data, but hey, we're on the internet, dudes. We have all the data. We have everything and more in our hands. So it's just up to us, like, how do you want to use that? So to the question, if you look at, okay, who's coming, what's their pain point, why did they decide to use your product, how long have they been with your product, what kind of features have they been using? So you look at your product signals, look at social signals as well. Have they signaled anything before? Did they ever raise a ticket? Did they ever post something on social? Did they ever do anything? And then you can customize. Don't try and like do the other way around of like, hey, I want to customize, but you have no visibility or you haven't done any analytics before. Like, do your homework first, look at the data, and then you know what to do for that person.
The last thing I'll say, and I know I have to go, is think about data quality. So the quality of data that you push in to this AI is the better. The better data quality that you have. I mean, it's so important. It's so hard to get. So, I think that think about how you collect that information, and the more you understand about that customer, whether it's on their profile or you collect it on login, or whether you do some campaign around, hey, we don't have the right email address, or we don't have the right phone number, I don't know, whatever, what state do you live in or country, those kinds of things. Better, the more you have, the better. What products do you use, etc.
Yeah. Okay, as we are coming close to the time, I just want to thank you so much for joining in, and it was really insightful. And thank you all very much.